Hi, I'm Nicholas Manousos, a watchmaker and expert horologist based in New York City. Mechanical watches comprise a multitude of historical, technical, and cultural aspects all in one compact package. They bring me a lot of joy, and I'm happy to share some of that joy with you as part of eBay's Dialed In series.
And I'm Matt Hranek, explorer, food and drink enthusiast, and lover of watches. I'm also the founder, editor of William Brown magazine, and author of A Man and His Watch. One of my favorite watches is a chronograph, and its rich historical ties to sports and car racing.
In this episode of Dialed In, we'll be inspecting the chronograph and getting under the hood of a household name in the category, the Omega Speedmaster. To understand a chronograph, it helps to understand some etymology. Chronograph comes from the Greek words chronos, time, and graphene, to write. The writing part of the word chronograph has some interesting history. In 1821, an early version of the chronograph made by the watchmaker Ryusek actually marked the dial with ink to indicate the elapsed time in a horse race. Now, this isn't really a very reusable concept. You have to replace the dial every time. And thankfully, the chronograph has evolved significantly. An even earlier version of the chronograph was invented by Moynet in 1816. Now, this chronograph was different. It was intended for use just during astronomical studies. Omega is a Swiss watch brand, founded in 1848. The Speedmaster was introduced in 1957 and was famously worn on the moon for the first time during the Apollo 11 mission.
Omega is one of the major players in the watch industry. They have had the reputation for decades as making some of the finest watches in the world. Personally, Omega has a classic feel for me. As I mentioned, the brand's involvement with the space program has always put them on another playing field. They have the backing of a well-known space agency, something other brands weren't able to attain. Putting on an Omega is a luxurious feeling, and it has ties to so many notable and historical moments. As a big watch fan and collector, and specifically a fan of the Omega Speedmaster, the look and feel of the watch is what really catches my attention. The watch is a classic and has stood the test of time, since it was created basically. The black dial offers a striking balance with the silver bracelet, and aesthetically it has remained fairly consistent over time. In terms of actual mechanics, what are some of the key highlights, Nick?
Great question, Matt. The engine of a mechanical wristwatch is referred to as its movement, and the Omega Speedmaster has gone through many changes to its movements over its history. The most significant change it has seen was the move from the caliber 321 to caliber 821. The major technical difference between these movements is the way that the chronograph mechanism is actuated. The caliber 321 uses a column wheel system, while the caliber 861 uses a cam-actuated system. Now, this difference is technical and debatable, but the 861 can be described as an improvement in many ways. Even so, the 321 is very desirable because of its rarity and the fact that it was actually worn on the moon.
You know, Nick, I'll leave the technical details to you, but that's why I kind of fell in love with the watch, was my obsession with the space program. And, you know, when I put on my Speedmaster, I feel a little bit like an astronaut. I think what I find most interesting is what truly made this watch different specifically for the space program. I would imagine they had to think through every potential scenario to withstand life in space.
Absolutely, Matt. And to help find exactly what you're looking for, it's beneficial to understand some of the technical characteristics of the watch. An important aspect of the testing that a well-known space agency subjected the Omega Speedmaster to were its failure characteristics. Around this time, sapphire crystals for watches were beginning to become popular. Sapphire is second only to diamond in terms of hardness, making it very difficult to scratch. Even so, sapphire has a tendency to shatter like glass when subjected to a hard, direct shock. This was considered to be a safety risk in the zero-gravity outer space environment, and Omega used acrylic instead. Acrylic is a type of plastic known for its extreme durability. It's often used for bulletproof glass.
Growing up at a time when space exploration was a major thing, having a piece of that history has always had a major impact on me. Now you can get this watch new, but there are also some really great Speedmasters that are used and vintage that you could pick up on eBay.
When you're looking for a used or vintage watch, there are a couple of things to keep in mind, and some might feel counterintuitive. For instance, scratches, imperfections, or wear aren't necessarily a bad thing. They can give the watch a richer story, whereas something like over-polishing can actually damage the watch and decrease its value.
I recommend searching very specifically. That will help you find exactly what you're looking for.
And that's it for today's episode of Dialed In. I'm Nicholas Manousos, and I just want to thank Matt Hranek, founder and editor of William Brown Magazine, for joining me here today.
Thanks, Nick. It was a pleasure.
Be sure to check out our other episodes of Dialed In on eBay's YouTube channel.